From Prairie Lodge, this is the Sun City Report, a program to keep you up to date on what's happening in Sun City, Huntley. Your host is your fellow Sun City resident, WGN's Orion Samuelson.
Welcome back to our Sun City Report. One of the things Gloria and I have enjoyed since living in Sun City is the extraordinary talent of many of the residents here and the interesting backgrounds. And so we're going to spend a minute or two talking to people you should know. And I want you to meet Harriet Blake. When I talked to Bob Hope, George Burns, Elvis Liberace, they all said, I worked with Harriet Blake. That's true.
That's me.
Okay. What were you doing with those big names?
I sang. I usually open the show.
Uh-huh.
They call you a supporter. You support the show. You open.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I did. I actually got to know them so well that I definitely did not want to become a star because every one of them had a bad story. Like they were, deprived from doing, they couldn't do anything they wanted to do.
But of the names I mentioned, who did you enjoy most?
I think from the names you mentioned was George Burns.
Really?
He was probably the sweetest person I met. He was just down to earth and wonderful.
Well, you and I worked together at Blossom Time Festival in Michigan.
Right.
And
there were several things. Irv Kupcinet, you, and
Yeah.
it was always you and Irv Kupcinet.
Yeah, right. So.
Those were the days.
But now you're doing some entertaining here.
Well, I can't say unfortunately. I guess I'm really happy I'm doing it. I didn't intend to. I was going to come here and not do a thing, not sing again. And in fact, Larry, who just left, I met him the first day I was here. First day they had me do something. They wanted me to talk to the people and tell them what George Burns was like, because we had a man that imitated George Burns, and
Right.
but I did wind up singing one song, and then that song went to the second song, and then Leslie would say, you think maybe you could do a concert? And I said, I don't think so. But I did.
What do you do at the concert? Because I haven't had the opportunity to see the concert.
I just sing and sing.
Songs from
Well,
whose era?
Anywhere from country to big songs like This Is My Life. And I'm a big singer. The voice is not like it used to be. So country. Mm-hmm. And that's it.
When did you move to Sun City?
3 years ago.
What brought you here, Harriet?
I lived in Chicago, and this is where my family was. I left in 1982, I think it was, and it was easier for me to work from Florida, because I did the ships, because if I had to fly to Washington, D.C. or someplace, the planes were not stalled because of the snow. Right. We had problems. I had problems getting to Fort Wayne, Indiana one time. We couldn't get there. No way.
I've gone
Even
through
the
same
roads.
thing. Yes.
You know what that's like.
But you did some cruise ships too?
I did cruise ships, yes. I would take those in between.
Was that fun?
Oh, it was a lot of fun. I was what they call a traveling entertainer.
Right.
I would do one show on this ship and then maybe stay there a day and then go to another ship. Mm-hmm. They transfer us, we do another show. So we do the average of probably 3 shows a week, which was easy.
Well, before we say goodbye, will we see you on stage here anytime in the future?
The only thing I'm doing is one song on the Idol show. You've heard of the Idol show.
Yes.
And I was a judge in that Idol show, the first Idol show, and they sort of brought me into their club. And it is a club that runs the show. But all these amateurs really sound like professionals now. They're really up there.
Well, thank you for sharing a little bit with us, and I can see we may have to do more of this because your background, we could probably do 5 hours, but we don't have time now, okay?
That's okay.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Harriet.
you.
Entertainer Harriet Blake, somebody you should know here in Sun City.
This is the Sun City Report. Your host is your fellow Sun City resident, WGN's Orion Samuelson.
There are so many people you should know here in Sun City. I'm sorry we can only introduce 2 of them on this edition. But now I want you to meet a gentleman who has a history of a career that just fascinates me. Don Kundich The title when you retired was Lockheed Martin Manager, Titan Space Launch Vehicle Program. You were part of the space program.
I was indeed, yes.
Tell me about it.
Well, I started with the Martin Company, which eventually merged and became Lockheed Martin, as a young engineer, and actually taught electronics to, back in the Titan I days, which of course were weapon systems.
Right.
They evolved to the Titan II weapon system, and then the space program really started, and the Titan evolved into a premier space launch vehicle booster. My work was usually at Vandenberg Air Force Base, and rose from young engineer to eventually to program manager. So, 36 years. It was a very interesting and challenging effort, I would say.
And what did the things you shot up into space do? What was their purpose?
Well, as most satellites, they are for either reconnaissance, weather observation, land mass review, GPS satellites, communications, just the myriad of things that modern space systems do. I was not at all involved in manned space.
So what were a couple of the most exciting things you remember about what you did? Were the launches the most exciting?
Well, the launch is always the most exciting.
Yeah.
I remember mostly the ones that didn't work well,
Okay.
because they are rather frightening when you realize that you have a very large amount of combustible propellant on board, and it all goes up at once. In several presentations I have given in the past, I have said, you never want a rocket ship to blast off. It's very, very exciting. You have ignition and liftoff, and you hope it goes smoothly. The blasting is really bad.
Let's talk about Sun City. When did you move here?
We've been here 8 years now. My wife and I came back from, as you know, I was born in Gary, Indiana, and migrated west with the rocket business. And my wife and I came back here because our children and grandchildren are here now. And they migrated here for their work effort, of course. And so we came back after my retirement.
And you've gone from the space program to another very interesting program now. We have about a minute, but tell me what your wife does.
Well, my wife is a master quilter, and she is a co-chair of the quilts for Afghan, diplomacy quilts for Afghan children. It was started by Kathy Dionne's daughter, who Kathy lives here, and it was also started by Lise on request of our Officer Kinney, part of our police force. And they have been building quilts now for approximately 2 years, and I believe have shipped about 700 quilts to the 866th AES in Afghanistan for distribution to children, mostly at the hospitals and clinics in Afghanistan. We have many, many pictures, and I'll put in a plug for next week, not this coming weekend, the 19th and 20th, the Quilts of Valor quilt show that's being held here at Crossman Center in Huntley. So
what a great project. Don, thank you for sharing this with us. And,
well, thank you for giving me a few minutes.
Okay, Don Kundich, someone you should know in Sun City. Other people you should hear from too, and we'll continue this edition of Sun City Report.
This has been the Sun City Report. Your host is your fellow Sun City resident, WGN's Orion Samuelson.